Good morning. Thank you so much for the moderation, and thank you so much for all the technical work that you're doing. I'm coming from rainy Costa Rica. I'm actually cold and wearing a blanket, um, which is unusual for us here. And this has been a phenomenal experience. I'm really inspired by all of the presentations and everybody who's been participating. And what I'd like to share with you in these 8 minutes and 43 seconds that are left is something that really follows in what Uli was talking about. And it has to do with what practices we have that we can do that help us have a better world inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. So let's move on to the next slide. I'm not sure. I think I know how to do that. There we go. There are 4 core questions that I am constantly asking myself as a teacher, as a teacher trainer, as a learner. What's happening inside my head and heart and body, and how does that affect learning? What's happening between the people involved, and how does that affect learning? What's happening within the context, and how does that affect learning? And what actually are the lenses that I'm using to see these experiences, and how does that affect how I understand the learning that's happening? These are questions I've been asking myself for about 25 years. And today, what I'm going to share is some new answers and some old answers that I've been coming to recently. And this is actually extremely recently. In the last 8 or 9 months, I've been thinking more about creating an environment where we can be brave in the classroom. So up until now, we always talk about, in my world, we talk a lot about creating a safe environment for everybody's learning. And I love the idea of a safe environment. I want people to feel like they can be who they are and do what they need to do to learn. I was reading a book about facilitating learning, facilitating discussions around social justice, and came across this idea about creating brave space that was brought up by Brian Arau and Christy Clemens. And brave space is different than safe space. And for me, it's more challenging and it's more appealing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. So I have these intentions for moving towards a brave space in my personal and professional world, in my classrooms, in the relationships that I have with people that I work with. And in a safe space, we often agree to disagree. Say, okay, we just don't understand. We don't agree. Let's move forward. And what these two mentioned is that actually can limit conversation and limit understanding. And so can we then shift over to try to have controversy with civility, like Uli was talking about? How can we be civil with each other? So if we agree to certain ways of being civil with each other, we can explore controversy on a deeper level, or we can not only controversy, but we can also explore discomfort or challenges that are happening. In a safe space, we often say, don't take things personally. And in a brave space, we want to look a little bit more at, well, what's my intention and what's the impact? Because oftentimes I'll have people say, well, I wasn't taking it personally. It wasn't my intention to hurt you, or it wasn't my intention to do something in this particular way. It's like, we understand that. I actually operate from an assumption that we all have good intentions. But that doesn't mean that the impact of whatever we say and do is going to have that good intention. And so if I can own the fact that I had a good intention and that the impact wasn't what I was hoping for, then we can actually dialogue and understand each other and go a little bit deeper into our connection. 3 other things that they mention in creating brave space is challenge by choice, that we all have the option to step in and out of whether or not we want to do a challenging conversation or activity or task. And by giving this kind of choice, I know that the students in the classroom or the teachers that I'm working with are actually stepping up to these brave spaces because they want to, from inside their heart and or inside their head. And it might be kind of scary to have hard conversations, or might be kind of scary to think about, why do I feel so frustrated around my pronunciation when I'm speaking in this, well, for me, it would be in Spanish or in another language, and really explore something that's difficult. So challenge by choice. I choose this to step into the harder things. I think respect, showing respect for each other's basic personhood. Respect actually in different cultures and for different people sometimes can have different ways of manifesting itself, different actions that would go with it. But understanding that when I'm operating in this brave space, I really am intentionally trying to respect others. The other main characteristic that they mention is that there are no attacks. Like, we are really intentionally not trying to harm each other. It doesn't mean that harm doesn't happen. It just means that my intention is to not harm. And that if I do something or say something that stimulates pain in somebody else or harm in somebody else, then I understand that I really do want to work with that impact, because I do not want to attack or harm. So all of these are things that they mentioned in their article that I was reading that I thought was fascinating. And I thought, well, what's a simple way to start? And these three practices of kindness, curiosity, and empathy towards each other, which are things that I've been talking about a lot over the years, and a lot of people have mentioned in presentations. I feel in this conference. So I'm excited about that. But practicing kindness, curiosity, and empathy are three things that we can do to help create a brave space. We can practice kindness towards ourselves. We have to practice towards ourselves. And one of the questions that often comes up in the world of compassion is, when we treat ourselves the way our best friends or people that love us deeply would treat us? So if I say something about myself, I say, oh, I'm so stupid. Would my best friend say that to me? Probably not. And so how can I learn to treat myself with kindness and care? The same care that I want to give other people, need to give it to myself. And then also, how can I begin to practice kindness towards others on a regular basis? And sometimes I think even just noticing when you are kind to others, it's not being egotistical. It's a good thing. It helps you build up your muscles your kindness muscles, to see how kindness practices are coming into your life. The second area that I wanted just to think a little bit about is curiosity towards myself and others. It's so easy to jump into judgment. So easy. I feel like our cultures train us for that. So can we create some kind of pause or mechanism where we start to become curious about ourselves and others rather than judging? And the final one, empathy towards oneself and others, is I think one of the biggest things that we can do to create a brave space. We need to be taking care of ourselves, and we need to understand our feelings and needs and our own situation, and we need to understand others as well. There's 4 choices. I'm going to leave you in the last minute with this. So what I think is the biggest powerful piece here, that when anything happens in the classroom, life, I always have 4 choices. I can see through the lens of judgment and respond by sort of blaming myself and say, oh my God, I'm so stupid, what's wrong with me? I can see and hear through the lens of judgment and blame somebody else for whatever happened. And what's wrong with them, or they're a bad person, or they're evil, or whatever that is. Neither of those lead to understanding, care, growth, and connection, I don't think. But what I'm working towards is, how can we do these choices 3 and 4, where we hear, see, and feel through the lens of non-judgment, and respond with kindness, genuine curiosity, empathy towards either ourselves or to others. And so that is really where I'm going to leave it for right now. I'm hoping that the idea of brave space is exciting to other people. And thank you all for showing up. Please donate. I love Rob. 60 minutes of Rob's presentation. I don't know how kind it is for me to say that, but I would be curious to see what you would do in an hour. Please donate, people. And thank you for showing up. Thank you all for being here. And much love to our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico. Please know that we are all with you. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Mary.